Hello and welcome to the 23rd Annual Garden State Film Festival. My name is Emily DeSimone, and here with me today is Richard Hoffman, who is the director, co-writer, animator, editor, sound designer, and actor, playing the role of Ben Franklin in the animation short Dollars That Make Sense, here with his co-writer and producer, Elizabeth Killow. How are you both doing today?
Great. How are
That's
you?
great.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me. Could you tell our live viewers a little bit about your animation short?
Do you want to jump in,
I
Elizabeth?
guess I'll start.
Yeah.
I work for the Untours Foundation, and we've been trying to get other foundations and endowment holders to move their money out of Exxon and the like and into world enhancing things. And I've been trying to explain to them why they should do this, how they can do it. And I haven't been able to get it down to less than 20 minutes, but I thought a film might make that possible. So I spent 6 months trying to get the narration of this film down to 3 minutes, which is what I read is the attention span of people over 30. And then I reached out to Rich for his help. He's a filmmaker that I've known for a long time. I love his work, and he did the magic on this film and on the script.
Okay. I mean, just to interject real quick, I think that sparked like a core random fact memory of I think you'll when you're watching like a TV show or a movie, you see the picture change every like 6 seconds or something.
Oh, yes.
The attention span of the audience members will get lost. So it's funny that you do say that. But Richard, I would love to hear your input on Dollars That Make Sense.
Yeah, sure. So I remember when Elizabeth first called me, I was just, my eyes were glazing over, and I'm like, this is just going to be boring. Because I thought she was talking about a more of like a talking head, explanation of what these issues were and how to convince people. So I was like, I'm not really interested. But then she showed me an example of an animated film of something that she liked, and I was like, and then my light bulb went off. Like, oh, we could do something really fun with. I don't remember what point the idea for the origami came in, and the dollar bill origami, but that kind of sparked figuring out, like, can we tell this story entirely with origami and dollar bills, and so that's what we started to do, and work, as Elizabeth said, we worked on the script for a really long time to make sure that it was engaging on its own, and then we started storyboarding and figuring out how we were going to actually pull it off.
I would love to know a bit about the two of you for our live viewers, your background in filmmaking and what this process was like for the two of you.
Well,
Do you
I
want to go
have,
first?
yeah, because I have zero experience in filmmaking, and I only knew what I like and what I don't like. So, for example, the first music that was composed for the film, I didn't like. I couldn't tell you why I didn't like it. It just didn't work for me. And Rich got it, and he presented me with other music that was perfect.
Yeah.
And was smart enough to reach out to a filmmaker to make the film.
Yeah, and like, don't sell yourself short, with your experience as a producer, like figuring out like how am I gonna. You had other skills that you were able to bring to it, so even though you were a first-time filmmaker, that made my job so much easier, and your confidence in me when you remember, there was a point where I was not too confident about what I was doing, and you were just like, I know you can do this, you're a great filmmaker, because I had actually never made a stop action film quite like this. I'd done a lot with time lapse and I'll just kind of step back and give you my background, but I'd never done this specific kind of animated film before, but I'd always wanted to do this kind of film. So that was like my real motivation to learn. And even though it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take, I'm really glad that we took it on, and it turned out pretty much how I was hoping it would turn out. But yeah, so I've been a filmmaker for maybe 30 years. I went to NYU in the 90s and have worked in New York for a little bit, but moved back to the Philadelphia area in the late 90s and started my company doing kind of mostly client work for a variety. I think I've done everything from weddings and bar mitzvahs to music videos and ads and feature length documentaries and all in between. Probably most of my work is in the like 3 to 5 minute range these days, but along the way I've always kind of been working on my own work as well. So I made a feature film in the early 2000s. Then I made it after I did that was kind of a big production with a lot of people, and I wanted to scale back, so I made a short film called Fridays at the Farm, pretty much entirely by myself with a still camera. And it was time lapse and stills. And it's kind of a mixture of the two. And that's where, even though I haven't made a stop action film per se, that technique was very similar. It's very similar to stop action. Some people call it pixelation. And so I made a number of films in that style of photos and time lapse, and my primary business is time lapse now as well. So that's what I've been doing.
If I may, what brought the two of you? I don't think you said what brought the two of you together, how you know one another.
Good question. Do you want to take that, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I met Rich when the Untourist Foundation helped launch our town of Media, Pennsylvania, as the first fair trade town in the U.S. And Rich volunteered and made us 2 films that helped get that project going.
Right. Yeah. When that
So
was
I've been
like
following his
2000
work.
and what, 7? 6?
6?
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a while ago.
Mhm.
And that we had kind of stayed in touch, but never worked on anything after that together until you called me a year or two ago, 2 years ago, I guess it is now. So
One of the fun things to me about the film, Rich asked me for ideas of what I was looking for, and I said, well, to make it fun, I also have Wallace and Gromit in my mind, and I'd like a dog host. And then it turned out that a cat, an origami cat out of a dollar bill, was easier to do than a dog. So we have a cat host of this film, which I just love.
yeah, I'm a dog person too. So I was hoping I'd find a good model for a dog, but there was just better cat models out there. So yeah.
So, if I may, Richard, you have quite a bit of extensive experience in this film. And Elizabeth, I know Richard says that you are selling yourself a little short, but this is maybe the first time you've really produced something. What was this experience like for you? And what would you say you've learned from Richard? And Richard, maybe what was something that you noticed and you were able to teach Elizabeth?
Wow. Well, I learned everything from Rich. And I hadn't realized either that filmmaking is like making a soup, and you can have all excellent ingredients, but it might not work. And we ran into a few of those moments, one being with the music, as I mentioned. Another is when Rich told me very gently that I wasn't working out as an animator. And he was right.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah.
Yes, but he was exactly right. Like all the ingredients. And we played off of each other with ideas. He had told me early on some of his ideas for the ending, and I didn't think it would work, but it did. I don't want to give the ending away. So it was fun to learn about that give and take, and how to build on each other's ideas. And I'm still amazed that Rich was able to present the information all through origami money. Really incredible.
So I know, oh, sorry. Actually, I wanted to hear Richard's end of it.
Yeah. So my response, I mean, I don't, the thing, I guess, did you ask the thing that I learned or appreciated the most from Elizabeth?
I would love to know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the main thing is her openness to my knowledge, and also, as she said, the give and take of like, okay, I think this is going to work, but it might not work. And then the honesty of like, yeah, I really don't like that. Because when you hear that, even though it's tough to hear that something's not working, then it forces you to go back and be like, you know what, she's right. It's not good enough. It's just not hitting the right tone. And that's tone is like the hardest thing with music, especially to get right. And if you don't have the right tone, the whole thing just kind of falls apart. So luckily, my friend Peter and Tremo and Tom Hamilton, who did the music, when they approached it together, I think they just knocked it out of the park. So yeah, but with Elizabeth, I think it's that openness and trust that she had in me, and it's really like making a film is a relationship. You know, you have a relationship with the people that you're working with, and it's not always good. You hope that it's good, but you're going to have disagreements because I might have a vision one way and she may have a different vision, and you don't always have the time or money to try different ideas to see what's going to work. So that's where things can get challenging. But we got lucky, I think, together, and hopefully we'll make something else together.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my final question before I start to wrap things up would be, I know that you introed this as you wanted something to showcase for funds. What is it that you want your audience, this audience, perhaps with Garden State or your film festival run, to be able to pull, like to take away from your film?
Well, I know they'll think it's fun because it really is a fun film, but I hope they'll think about moving any money they're in charge of into things that help people, animals, plants, and the earth. So this film is directed somewhat or mostly toward foundations and their endowments, but I hope people will also think about their personal savings accounts, the accounts at their houses of worship, their club funds, whatever, that they'll think about putting money where it's going to help, and especially at this moment in time.
Richard, how about you?
I would say the same thing, probably more from a personal level, just thinking, you know, and just realizing like we all have power that we don't use all the time. So the power of our pocketbooks, and we can choose to spend it on or you can still grow in investments that are doing things that are in line with your beliefs. So I would just hopefully this encourages people to kind of have that light bulb moment a little bit, and think about, oh, maybe there's a way I can do something different. And then if enough individual people do that, that can make a huge change in the world.
Well, Elizabeth and Richard, thank you guys so much for joining with me today. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Dollars That Make Sense will be screening at the Berkeley Continental on Sunday, March 30th at 12 p.m. Will I be seeing the two of you there?
Really hoping to.
I will be there.
All righty. Well, I hope you both have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah. Me too.
You too, Emily.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.